All hail your new queen!
Are you my wife or my queen?
I'm both.
It is with a heart heavier than Rhaeny staring over the charred body of her son that I inform you this is the last episode of the season. But fear not, season 2 has been confirmed. But we probably won't get it until 2024. This episode had some crazy departures from the book, which may have some serious implications for Season 2. Did Daemon claim 2 dragons? How will Rhaenyra react to Luke's death? And will Lars continue subscribing to Alicent's OnlyFans? All this and more answered in the video. I'll be saving any book spoilers beyond episode 10 until the very end, but I'll give you a warning when that comes. And before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe so I don't have to enlist my children in Toddler Fight Club. For those of you who have watched a few of my breakdown videos, you'll know I always do a side-by-side comparison of the intro credits to see if anything's changed, and in episode 10 there's only one really minor difference. The first billed actor is no longer Paddy Considine, whose character King Viserys died at the end of episode 8. His billing has been replaced by Matt Smith, who portrays Daemon. Our first shot is of the painted table as we travel southward. You'll see the northernmost point here is the Shadow Tower, one of several castles that defend the wall. As we travel further southward, we'll see some areas familiar to this season, like Harrenhal, where Lionel and Harwin Strong met their end, and the Vale of Arryn, which is located a bit north of where Daemon's first wife Rhea Royce had a tragic riding accident. Luke touches the island of Driftmark, the island he's set to rule when his grandfather Corlys Return passes. In episode 8, we learn the sea snake had almost died from a stab wound while ambushed in the Stepstones, an event which put Luke and his brother's claim to the throne into question. Luke is not of real Velaryon blood, which may explain why his grandfather is one of the greatest sailors ever known, yet he can't even last a few minutes on a ship without getting seasick. He believes that he'd ruin everything if he were to take it over, and there is a reason this episode starts and ends with Luke. His death will be the catalyst for war. As we'll see throughout the episode, Queen Rhaenyra shows tremendous restraint when it comes to calling for war, even though all the lords around her, including her husband, chomp at the bit to wave their dicks around. Rhaenyra does not let her emotions get in the way of level-headed judgment. There is still a world in which bloodshed may be avoided, that is, until Luke's death, but I'll get into the implications of that in a bit. Rhaenyra essentially tells her son that she too was frightened when given the responsibility of ruling, but it's a duty that she will prepare him for, just like Viserys prepared her. You may have noticed these two small affectionate moments between mother and son here, which really set up the emotional weight of Luke's death later in the episode. First is Rhaenyra's multiple kisses on Luke's forehead, and the second their hand touching before flying off to Storm's End. Their meeting is cut short with an announcement by member of the Kingsguard, Laurent Marbrand. You'll notice that some members of the Kingsguard have decided to side with Rhaenyra and others with King Aegon, and the fact that many of them side with Rhaenyra gives her some legitimacy, as Kingsguard are highly regarded amongst the common folk and are symbols of the king's, or should I say queen's, power. In the book, the knights that follow Rhaenyra are referred to as members of the Queensguard. The other, more senior member of the Queensguard is Sir Steffon Darklyn, who served under both Jaehaerys and Viserys, making his service over 26 years long. In the book, Sir Steffon is Lord Commander of the Queensguard, making him the superior to Laurent and Eric. Rhaenys, the queen who never was, arrives on Dragonstone after her daring escape from the Dragon Pit. She's brought with her distressing news both of the usurper and the king's death. The news seems so painful as to trigger contractions from Rhaenyra's baby.
I would like to see the baby.
It's not the time for that, Werner. Daemon wants to know what we've all been thinking: how come Rhaenys didn't turn the Greens into a KFC family meal? According to her, it wasn't her war to start, and Daemon just looks at her like, disappointed! At least Rhaenys has the courtesy to tell them that the Greens are coming for Rhaenyra and her children. Speaking of children, Maester Gerardus and the handmaids are concerned for Rhaenyra and child because her baby is not of term. She's given birth 5 times before, and this is something new. Meanwhile, as the screams of her wife echo in the background, Daemon has assembled a war council around the painted table. The Dragon Keepers are to be conscripted and patrols set about the perimeter to keep an eye out for any stealth attacks. And just as Criston Cole would train the Green Boys, Steffon Darklyn oversees the training of Jace and Luke. And what better time to be summoned by her mother than when she's in the middle of labor? The boys are informed of Alicent's treachery, and she makes very damn sure that no one, even Daemon, is supposed to do anything without her command. But come on, since when has Daemon ever listened?
Add it to the chair.
It's the one
News arrives from Evenfall, the seat of House Tarth where Brienne did much of her training. Corlys Velaryon's fever has broken and he has departed, but where to, the council is unsure. Neither Rhaenys nor Corlys have said which side they're going to choose, and if you watch the Coronation scene where everyone bends the knee, Rhaenys is the only one who doesn't. It's pivotal that Rhaenyra allies with the Velaryons. Their navy would be a tremendous boon to their cause, but it's not that simple. The Sea Snake believes Daemon and Rhaenyra are responsible for the death of their son and daughter, and that their grandchildren are bastards! Okay, Vaemond, we get it. Daemon's boner for war attracts the ire of his son-in-law Jace. Even though Daemon's told that the queen wants no action taken without her orders, Daemon goes ahead anyway and sends ravens to various houses across the realm. Daemon thinks he has the Tully's support in the bag. After all, Lord Grover Tully was a friend of Viserys's. But Rhaenyra knows Lord Grover Tully is fickle and easily swayed, hence why sending a raven wasn't the best idea. This is why she didn't want her husband-uncle messing things up while she was giving birth. Rhaenyra has far more knowledge about the politics of the kingdom and relationships with other houses than Daemon does. Fun fact, many of the members of House Tully are named after Muppets, such as Grover, Elmo, Kermit, and Oscar Tully. Daemon tells Jace that he'll show him what real loyalty means, bringing out Steffan and Lauren to renew their oath to Rhaenyra or face a fiery death. Was this really necessary? Probably not. It's more of a way for Daemon to teach the future king a lesson he otherwise would not have gotten from his mother. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra faces a war of a different sort, just like her mother equated in episode 1.
The childbed is our battlefield. We must learn to face it with a stiff lip.
Unfortunately, the child is lost. The book portrays a far more gruesome depiction of events, with the baby coming out twisted and malformed, with a hole in its chest where the heart should have been, the child even having a stubby, scaled tail. It was a girl to be named Visenya, the same name she wanted to call baby Balon should he have been a girl. It's also the name of one of Aegon the Conqueror's sister wives, a fearsome warrior who rode Vhagar. Rhaenyra prepares the body herself as the Silent Sisters mill about in the background. We even get a brief moment with Daemon as he mourns the death of his child. The next day, the body is burned, as is the Targaryen tradition, just like how the body of Balon and Aemma were burned in episode 1. But the funeral is interrupted by Sir Eric Cargill, who we last saw helping Rhaenys escape King's Landing. In episode 9, we saw him carry this satchel which was hiding the stolen crown of King Viserys that Alicent put atop his corpse. He has brought it as a gift and to swear his fealty to her. As Aegon's sworn protector, he knows probably more than anyone the type of character Aegon is. He can't see someone who commits sexual assault and throws his bastard children into toddler fight club as someone fit to rule. In the tradition of the Kingsguard, or Queensguard, Eric swears to take no wife, hold no land, father no children, guard her secrets, obey her commands, and defend her name and honor. Not gonna lie, I got a little teary-eyed here as everyone kneeled to their new queen. Shit is about to go down. The war table's adorned with Dragonstone and Hightower pieces delineating the two sides in the upcoming conflict. Daemon introduces the queen as Rhaenyra Targaryen, the first of her name, Queen of the Andals, Rhoynar, and the First Men, a Lady of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. The traditional way a king or queen is introduced.
That's pretty cool.
Rhaena hands over a cup of wine to the queen, which I thought was fun considering Rhaenyra used to do the same thing for the king. Rhaenyra asks for a standing on their current army.
We have 30 knights, 100 crossbowmen, and 300 men-at-arms.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
As you can tell, these are some pretty pitiful numbers as things currently stand. It's enough to defend Dragonstone, but certainly not enough to wage a conquest. In the meantime, Daemon has sent word to former members of the City Watch, of which he used to lead, to see who'd be willing to switch sides, perhaps even act as spies within King's Landing itself. Otto knew the dangers of this and made it one of his first matters of business to decloak any members of the City Watch loyal to Daemon. Celtigar of Claw Island, Staunton of Rook's Rest, Massey of Stonedance, Bar Aemon of Sharppoint, and Darklyn of Duskendale have also pledged their support. This leaves 5 other large houses which could sway either way. The Aarons of the Vale, the Tullys of Riverrun, Starks of Winterfell, Velaryons of Driftmark, and Baratheons of Storm's End. Because her mother was an Aeron before marrying Viserys, Rhaenyra is confident the Aarons will be in their pocket. Daemon is also confident he can get Lord Grover Tully on their side, and Rhaenyra was really close with Borman Baratheon, but since his death his son Boros has taken over, making it a wild card. Finally, there's Lord Lord Corlys, but we'll get to him in a sec. The two main houses of Team Green are House Hightower and House Lannister. Jason Lannister no doubt still sulking over his proposal gone wrong in episode 3. If only he had crafted a better spear. But as one of the lords reminds them, does any of this matter when you have dragons? The Greens have only 3, while Rhaenyra has 7, with an additional 3 in their possession that are currently riderless, and 4 more that have never taken a rider. These dragons are referred to as wild and include one of my favorites called the Cannibal. Let's not also forget the 3 eggs that Daemon picked up, which are currently incubating. However, those will take over a decade before they can wreak any sort of havoc. All in all, this is about a 14-3 ratio. It's not looking good if you're the Greens, but if there's anything we've learned about Game of Thrones, things can turn in an instant. Rhaenyra rejects the idea of sending the dragons over and just burning the shit out of anyone who opposes them. She does not want to be the ruler of Ash and Bone. Just wait until you meet your descendant. Daemon's plan is to establish a foothold on the mainland at Harrenhal, the same place Harwin and Lionel met their spicy end. From there, they can cut off the west, surround King's Landing with their dragons, and have every green head mounted on a spike within a fortnight. But as their plans develop, an envoy from the king is sent. It's Otto Hightower coming with a message from Alicent. In the book, it's actually Grand Maester Orwyle who comes bearing the conditions of peace, and Rhaenyra strips him of his chains and puts them on Maester Gerardus. Now, when this scene first starts, the queen is nowhere to be found, making a dramatic entrance on Syrax just like she did on the same steps in episode 2, only this time she's not coming for her uncle, but for Otto. And you know Rhaenyra has balls of steel when she lands her dragon on the opposite side and casually walks right through her enemies. It's an amazing sign of strength and also must feel pretty intimidating if you're Otto with a dragon behind you and Daemon in front of you. Notice how the men surrounding Otto are Hightower guards, with the exception of Sir Ark with an A, who chose to side with the Greens. His brother Eric with an E is on the other side. Otto reads out the terms. If Rhaenyra bends the knee and acknowledges Aegon as king and pledges obeisance to him, she will get to keep Dragonstone and Driftmark to be passed down to Jace and Luke respectively. Additionally, Aegon the Younger and Viserys II will be King Aegon's squire and cupbearer, with everyone else given high places at court and every guardsman who sided with them pardoned. And Daemon's like,
I would rather feed my sons to the dragons than have them carry shields and caps.
Otto tries arguing from the perspective of legitimacy. Aegon bears the crown, sword, and name of the Conqueror while being anointed by the High Septim in front of thousands. As the saying goes, possession is 9/10 of the law. Not only that, but the Greens have already sent out generous proposals to the Starks, Tullys, and Baratheons. Proposals that will surely wither stale oaths from decades past. Rhaenyra rips off Otto's hand of the king pin and throws it away, calling him a traitor. He coveted that pin dearly. With Rhaenyra unable to budge, Otto pulls out his trump card, the page Rhaenyra ripped out of the Septa's book way back in episode 1. It was a scene that showed the bond of friendship between her and Alicent, and the fact Alicent has kept it all these years shows she never lost her love for her old friend. The page itself tells the tale of Princess Nymeria, a beautiful warrior queen who conquered much of Dorne. Will Rhaenyra do the same to Westeros? While Daemon chomps at the bit to go to war, Rhaenyra holds her composure, telling Otto that he will have their answer on the morrow. This is a well-calculated move on her part. If she can use that time to get more allies on her side, particularly the Baratheons and Starks, the Greens will have no choice but to surrender and blood could be spared. Daemon does not like this idea. The enemy has declared war, and from his perspective, Rhaenyra has done nothing. Calling her out in front of all the other lords was not a good move. She has the room cleared and Rhaenys is just smiling like,
destroy him.
While Daemon wants to crush this open rebellion, Rhaenyra reminds him they have bigger things than their ambitions to look beyond, referring to the Song of Ice and Fire, a ruler who will be needed to unite the kingdom against an upcoming darkness. This was Aegon's prophecy that was handed down to her by Viserys, passed from ruler to next in line. Now this is where Rhaenyra made a mistake. She assumed that Daemon knew of this prophecy. At one point in time, Daemon was next in line to be king, so she thought her father would have told him about this prophecy. So when Daemon sees that Rhaenyra is basing her decisions on Viserys' crazy omens and dreams, he physically chokes her.
Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
And you know there are going to be some people in the fan base like,
Choke me, Devil Daddy, choke me!
Viserys never telling Daemon of the prophecy also tells us that he never wanted nor saw his brother as heir to the throne. All this prophecy stuff was never in the book, and is a testament to how the writers here are really rounding out these characters. For the first time since episode 7, we get our first shot of Corlys Velaryon. Although Rhaenys is happy to see him alive and well, she can't help but feel abandoned by him. When she and the girls needed him most, he went off to war. Not cool, Corlys. But his near-death experience has shown him that Rhaenys was right. His pursuit for the Iron Throne is over, and all he wants is to retire, declare his house for no side, and watch his grandchildren grow up. If only it were that simple. His 2 grandchildren just happen to be betrothed to Jace and Luke, and as Rhaenys says,
those boys will not be safe so long as Aegon is king.
So Corlys announces his support for Rhaenyra, and it's the Christmas that keeps on coming as Corlys announces his venture in the Stepstones these past 6 years resulted in them fully under his control and garrison, something Rhaenyra wanted them to do way back in episode 6.
There should have been fortifications built. A garrison of soldiers sent to hold our ground.
If we take a look at the map here, we can see just how strategic this area is. With boats patrolling these waters, they can cut off both trade and warships from Casterly Rock and Old Town. Furthermore, if they can cut off the Gullet, this narrow stretch of ocean here, they can stop all sea trade from getting into King's Landing, crippling it significantly. Of course, they need to lay siege to the Red Keep itself, which means blocking any enemy armies from the west, and in order to amass such a force, they'd need the support of Winterfell, the Eyrie, and Storm's End. So Jace volunteers himself and his brother to issue these messages on Dragonback. Dragons are faster and more convincing in swaying their allies. So Rhaenyra orders Jace to visit his mother's cousin, the Lady Jane Arryn at the Eyrie, and then to Cregan Stark in Winterfell. You may remember Cregan's father Rickon Stark pledges fealty to Rhaenyra in episode 1. Luke, on the other hand, will travel to Storm's End to treat with Boros Baratheon. In the book, Rhaenyra purposely sent Luke here because she believed it easier of the 2 missions. It's a shorter distance, and she thought Luke would be welcomed with open arms. She makes the 2 of them swear that they are to come as messengers, not warriors, and neither of them are to fight.
No fighting. No f***ing fighting. No fighting. No!
Rhaenyra sends her sons off on the respective dragons Vermax, who we saw in episode 6, and Arax. Meanwhile, Daemon ventures into the Dragonmount singing in High Valyrian. There he comes into contact with a riderless dragon known as Vermithor, who was once ridden by King Jaehaerys. Maybe this is why he's singing, because Daemon would have known from his research on Pentos that King Jaehaerys used to sing to his dragon, and this may calm it down. There are 2 ways we can interpret this scene, since it's not in the book. Daemon reaching for the dragon and it letting him touch him could mean he's claimed 2 dragons. According to the book, no rider has ever ridden 2 dragons, let alone having claim over 2 at the same time. So this could have insane implications for season 2, taking the story in directions even the book hasn't trod. It could also mean that Daemon is simply calming it down so that his daughter Rhaena, who's dragonless, can try claiming it on her own, although in the book she never rides Vermithor. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Storm's End is really living up to its name with, well, a storm. Luke has arrived, but not before seeing that Aemond has beat him to the punch, with Vhagar's massive body just dominating the castle walls. Inside, we can see 3 of Boros' daughters in the hall, with another alongside Aemond. She does not look too pleased. Aemond has offered his hand in marriage to one of the 4 girls to strengthen the Hightower alliance with the Baratheons. Remember in episode 7 that Aemond said he'd do anything if it would strengthen the family. Rhaenyra seems to have underestimated Boros, thinking that some family ties and Borman's oath would be enough to win them over. Boy, was she wrong, as Boros scoffs that Rhaenyra came with nothing to offer. Luke can't even offer his hand in marriage because he's already betrothed. To make this scene extra creepy, Aemond removes his eye patch, showing a sapphire in its socket. It's a reminder to Luke for what he did years ago when he tore it out on Driftmark. Aemond wants compensation, throwing his dagger at him to cut his eye out, but Boros at least has enough sense to not allow this bloodshed in his house, having Luke escort it out. The show doesn't have this scene, but after Luke leaves, one of Boros' daughters, who wasn't chosen by Aemond, asks him, quote, "Was it one of your eyes Luke took, or one of your balls? I'm so glad you chose my sister. I want a husband with all his parts." This is what really spurns Aemond to go after Luke and chase him on Vhagar. In the book, all we really know is that Luke and Aemond went into the sky, and a few days later, Luke and his dragon's body washed ashore near Storm's End. The show does a fantastic job filling in the blanks at what happened here, and one of the surprising things is that neither of these boys wanted to kill the other. Luke wanted to escape and Aemond wanted his eye. It is said under normal weather conditions, Arrax could have outmaneuvered and outrun Vhagar, but the storm made it difficult for the younger dragon to maneuver. Also remember that dragons can feel the emotions of their riders, or so it was implied in episode 3 when Daemon was hit with an arrow and Caraxes responded like he did with screams of pain. So Luke here would have been scared, and his dragon would have felt that. When an animal is scared, they'll often attack out of fear, which is what Arrax does to Vhagar. Even though Luke did not command him to do this, it's picking up on his rider's fear and trying to defend him. Keep in mind that dragons, like any animals, can't be fully tamed. They could snap at any point. So if you put yourself in Vhagar's shoes, you've just been hit in the face with dragonfire, of course you're going to retaliate. This is why Vhagar attacks and completely obliterates Arrax, even though Aemond tried to stop him. If we look at his face after Luke's death, Aemond is like, "What have I done?" He clearly did not mean to kill Luke, and this is going to have massive implications for the war to come. Rhaenyra was considering options for peace, but when she's informed of her son's death, you can take one look at her face and know war is coming in Season 2, and the Dance of Dragons is fully underway. If you want a few book spoilers on what we can expect in Season 2, keep watching. This is your warning for those who don't want to be spoiled. In a October 11th blog post, author George R.R. Martin said that it would take 4 10-episode seasons to do the Dance of Dragons justice, but I've also heard that House of the Dragon may extend even further and be turned into an anthology series after the Dance of Dragons is complete. This could mean we see other areas of the Targaryen dynasty, such as Aegon the Conqueror or Maegor the Cruel. I've also heard rumors that Alicent and Viserys' fourth son, Daemon, who is not seen this season as he was squiring in Old Town, will be making an appearance. Additionally, we'll be seeing a lot more dragons. Jace will head off to the Eyrie and Winterfell, where I imagine the Starks will play a much larger role when they end up siding with Rhaenyra. Now, I won't get too in depth with where the book heads next, that's worthy of its own video, but let's just say that Luke's death is not taken well by Daemon and Rhaenyra. In one of the most infamous scenes in the entire Fire and Blood book, Daemon orders assassins by the name of Blood and Cheese to infiltrate the castle's secret passageways and kill one of Aegon's children as revenge. These two men corner Helaena and her children, saying they'll spare the life of the one she loves more. After Helaena ends up choosing this child, they actually end up killing the other one, and Helaena spirals into madness. We can also expect some absolutely massive battles. Mentioned briefly this episode was Rhaenys saying she'll patrol the Gullet on Meleys. Ironic since it's close to there near Rook's Rest that she'll die during the Battle of Rook's Rest. It's in this battle that Aegon will suffer severe burns and his dragon rendered flightless. Criston Cole will also become Hand of the King, taking over Otto Hightower, so we can get an idea just how unhinged a Criston Aegon combo will become. Now I've done every episode this season, and if you've enjoyed them, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing, and let me know what you thought of the season in the comments below. For more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Choke me, Devil Daddy, choke me!